Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm glad you are here. Today, we're taking a deep dive into some really significant developments happening over at the Supreme Court. The big topic, President Trump's global tariffs. They've landed right on the court's doorstep. And, well, the administration is really pushing for a quick decision. This is definitely a major issue, moving fast with potentially wide effects.
Absolutely. And our aim today is really just to help you make sense of it all. We'll look at the possible timelines for a Supreme Court decision, what exactly came out this week, the main worries coming from the White House, and what it might mean for the economy. We want to keep these sometimes complex legal and economic ideas clear, easy to follow, no confusing jargon.
Okay, so the administration wants speed, definitely, but the Supreme Court, well, it kind of works on two very different tracks here, doesn't it? High stakes on both. Maybe we can break down these two paths.
Yeah, let's do that. First, there's what you might call the fast track. This is all about whether the tariffs stay active, stay in place, while the whole legal fight is ongoing. The administration asked for a stay.
A stay, right? That's like hitting pause, essentially. A temporary hold on the lower court's ruling.
Exactly. Just hitting pause so the current policy keeps running during the appeal.
Yeah.
Now, on this faster track, a single justice could issue a quick administrative stay. Maybe even within days. That just buys time.
Buys time for the full court.
Right. Then the full court takes a look and decides whether to grant the actual stay or deny it. That usually happens within days, maybe a few weeks, if they grant it. Importers keep paying the tariffs while the bigger legal battle continues.
And if they deny it?
If it's denied, then that lower court ruling kicks in pretty quickly, usually after a short grace period, and poof, the global tariffs end.
Okay, so that's the immediate issue. But then there's the bigger fundamental question about whether the tariffs are legal in the first place. That's the second track.
That's the second track, the full and final decision, the merits case, as they call it. And for this one, the court first has to agree to even hear the case. That's called granting certiorari.
They have to decide to take it on.
Exactly. If they do take the case and decide to speed things up, arguments could potentially happen this term. But here's the really crucial part for you to keep in mind. Even if they expedite it, a final ruling on the merits wouldn't likely come until late June 2026.
Late June 2026. Why so far out?
Well, it's because the Supreme Court's annual term starts the first Monday of October. So October 2025 for this cycle. And it typically wraps up in late June or early July the following year. So June 2026.
Okay. So that long wait is what the administration is worried about.
Precisely. And of course, if the court simply refuses to hear the case altogether, then the appeals court ruling just stands. That becomes the final answer.
Got it. Now, this week, things really heated up. We saw some interesting moves.
Yes. The Solicitor General, that's the government's top lawyer, before the Supreme Court formally asked the court to review the case quickly. The argument was that the lower court's decision is already causing problems in trade talks. They stressed this urgent need to get clarity on whether the tariffs are actually legal.
And didn't the Treasury Secretary back that up?
She did. Filed a declaration saying, world leaders are apparently already asking questions about the president's authority, maybe delaying talks, abandoning negotiations. And this declaration had some pretty stark warnings, talked about potential major disruption, serious strain if the court waits too long, like until that June 2026 date.
Wow.
Yeah, suggesting it could mean having to unwind and maybe refund hundreds of billions in tariffs already collected, undoing deals already made.
But it wasn't just the government pushing for speed, right?
No, interestingly, the small businesses that brought the original lawsuit, they also urged the court to move quickly. They argue the tariffs are just plain unlawful and causing heavy costs that are, threatening their ability to survive.
Yeah.
So both sides want a fast resolution, just for opposite reasons.
And adding to all this pressure, the appeals court itself, the one just below the Supreme Court, sent a pretty clear message.
Very clear. It was a 7-4 vote, which is quite significant. They basically indicated that the emergency powers law the administration relied on, it doesn't clearly authorize these kinds of super broad global tariffs.
So they didn't strike them down immediately?
No, they allowed the tariffs to keep running, but only until mid-October, essentially giving the government just a short window to get the issue to the Supreme Court.
Right. And just to remind everyone, these tariffs are complex. There's that 10% gunsline on most countries, but then higher rates on others deemed bad actors, plus those extra levies on Canada, China, Mexico.
Mm-hmm. And the Tax Foundation estimates that something like 70% of the tariff money expected in 2026 is tied up in this specific legal challenge. Huge stakes.
So for the White House, this is obviously critical.
Oh, absolutely. They see these tariffs as a, quote, cornerstone of their trade strategy. The fear is that the lower court ruling is already weakening their hand in negotiations. The president warned losing the tariffs could mean devastation for the country.
Strong words.
Very. And the Treasury Secretary used similar language, concerns about a catastrophic economic hit if this legal uncertainty drags on.
You know, it's interesting when you see these big economic policy cases at the Supreme Court, what do they usually look for?
That's a great point. Often when a policy has such a massive economic impact, the court looks for what they call a clear statement from Congress. Basically, did Congress very explicitly grant the executive branch the power to do this specific sweeping thing? If the law's text is vague or unclear, the court is often hesitant to approve really broad economic actions taken just by the executive.
Okay, so while we wait for the court's next move, what does this all mean practically, maybe for the economy, for businesses, for consumers?
Right, let's break that down. If the court grants that stay, the temporary pause, then the current tariffs continue. Those costs might get passed along to consumers, higher prices. Federal revenue keeps coming in from the tariffs. And trade partners, they might dig in their heels, harden positions in trade talks.
And the flip side, if the stay is denied...
If it's denied, those global tariffs end pretty quickly. Import costs for those goods would fall, which could be a relief for some businesses, especially smaller ones.
But there are risks either way.
Definitely risks. There's talk of potential legal whiplash. Imagine the government suddenly needing to figure out how to refund potentially billions in collected tariffs. That's complicated.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Plus just general confusion in compliance systems for businesses trying to follow the rules. And you always have the risk of retaliatory moves from other countries, depending on what happens.
And the markets.
Financial markets will likely react to the headlines, for sure. But the deeper, longer-term economic effects really hinge on that final, ultimate ruling from the court, likely far down the road.
Okay, so looking ahead, what are the key things you'll be watching for? What should our listeners keep an eye on?
Well, first and foremost, look for a very short order from the court, just on that stay request. That's the immediate thing. It'll signal the direction for the next few months at least.
Right, the pause button decision.
Exactly. Then, watch to see if the court actually agrees to hear the full case, if they grant certiorari. If they do, that probably means an expedited schedule for arguments.
Anything else?
You might also watch if the administration starts shifting its strategy, maybe focusing more on industry-specific tariffs, using different laws like national security justifications, and of course keep an eye on signals from our trading partners. Their negotiating power shifts a bit with every twist and turn in the courts.
Makes sense. Lots to track.
Indeed. And maybe one final thought for you to consider as this plays out. Think about how this Supreme Court decision, whichever way it goes, upholding the tariffs or striking them down, how might that reshape the whole balance of power? The balance between the president and Congress when it comes to making trade policy in the future. It could have really long-lasting implications.
That's a really important question to ponder. A lot riding on this. If you enjoyed this explanation, please subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Thank you for spending time with me today. Take good care and see you next time. Bye for now.